1. All right, everyone, you know what time it is. Yeah, it's time for two of the biggest jabronis you might know on this side of the Mississippi, even though we're on both sides of the Mississippi. In fact, I am literally on the Mississippi. Right now, we got your one host, Pat Ruffino, and your other host, Tucker Shaw, coming at you live. Right now, it's the Letterman Jacket Podcast. Let it rip, let it rip, let it rip, and go, and go, and go, and tough.
Oh, God, oh, God.
Yep.
Oh, boy. I didn't know you were going to take that into a song immediately, but, yeah, I'll try my best. I'll try my best to give some quality content for the next 20 minutes, half hour, so something like that.
We'll just let it go, Tuck. We'll do it all night. All night. You know, like in Little Nicky when Rob Schneider was like, you can do it all night. But,
I think he also brought that to the Waterboy.
it was the Water. I don't know. Rob Schneider's a unique guy.
We got some football going on. You know, apparently there's the Olympics. Apparently there's lots of stuff going on in the NBA. But as far as I know, there's some football news as well. So what do you hear on that landscape?
Well, I got a guy named Jimmy Garoppolo signing a 5-year deal, which honestly not as crazy as I thought it was until I actually looked it up. Jimmy Garoppolo signs a 5-year deal, $137 million contract. But there's a twist. You know, my buddy John Lynch, he doesn't mess around. He makes sure he gets his. So there's actually a potential out at the 3-year mark with only a $2.8 million dead cap. But in 2018, Tuck, he'll be 26 years old, has never lost a game as a starter, and he's going to be on the he'll be making base salary $6.2 million, 1.4 signing bonus, a $28.8 million roster bonus, a $600 workout bonus, and it's a $37 million cap hit. But that comes out to about $42 million this year. So,
well, you know, that $600 workout bonus really throws everything off. But, you know, I mean, I don't think this contract is ridiculous. I know, like, some fans are saying, oh, look at what the number comes out to be. And, yeah, it does come out to be a really large number per year. But I don't think it's completely out of the blue in terms of what we've been trending towards the last few years. I mean, with the overall salary cap increasing, the most prominent positions obviously going to get, you know, a bigger share of that going forward. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, he tops out at 2022, which is crazy because he'll be only 30 years old by then. But he'll top out at 24.2 as far as base salary. So he's really kind of in the medium ground as far as quarterbacks go, with, you know, obviously the constant trending upwards. But next year he'll make 17.2. It goes to 17.2, 23.8, 24.1, 24.2. And, you know, he is, but I believe he is the highest paid player ever. Just, it gets there. You know, it's and I think that a lot of people don't realize about the buyout. So, a lot of bonuses, though. They threw him a lot of bonus. But he did change that culture in San Francisco. You know, they had...
Oh, he immediately started winning games over there. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, he was immediately in every game he played over there.
And it was crazy because they were 1-10 when he got his first start, and everyone's like, oh, they're going to go Darnold, Rosen, Allen, you know, whatever the sweepstakes was at that point in the year, and then they go straight, you know, they're 6-10. They're not a later round draft pick, but they're later... probably the ninth. I believe they have the 9th pick this year. But either way, they're out of the top 5. You know, they're a legitimate team, and you know, it's crazy to say, like, what would they be like if he started the season with them? You know, or are they a 10-6 team? You know, Seattle was, you know, they weren't a good team this year. Cardinals weren't that good. You know, the Rams obviously surprised everyone, but. You know, do you hand the Rams a loss now? Because you have a legitimate starting quarterback, and they did hand them a loss at the season finale, but that was without Jared Goff. So,
right. I mean, the 49ers situation instantly improved as soon as Jimmy Garoppolo started starting over there. I mean, they went from a team, like you said, that was really not competitive in a lot of ball games to being right there in the fourth quarter every single time. It seemed like every time Jimmy G was on the field, he had a fourth quarter drive. Like when you're watching on Sundays, like he winds up being a storyline for like 25 minutes in the fourth quarter that you're watching because he just has them in the game. I think. I don't even know if he lost one game while he was starting for them.
No,
so,
he went 5-0. Yeah, he's 7-0 career as a starter. It's just a little bit hard for me to throw so much money at one player, especially. But in that same notion, when do we know if a player's proven? You know, he's got 7 starts under his belt. You know, we've seen quarterbacks coming out of the league. Obviously, they've changed the way they play. They pay first-round draft picks. I believe that was Sam Bradford was the last one to get that mega deal,
right.
maybe around there.
But you're right, because Cam Newton was the first to be affected by the...
Okay, so it was Matt Stafford, because Matt Stafford was the 2010 number 1 pick.
Right. Well, I know around that time, like I remember Matt Ryan's contract was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It actually probably was around these similar to these numbers because around that time, then what was it? I guess 2011 or something, where they changed that. But so you're seeing just massive numbers, and again, this is for a guy that doesn't have a lot of starting experience. I mean, that's less than a full season. We've seen that go bad in a lot of other scenarios, but I think this is just a bit of a different case just because, on tape, every time I see him, he looks good. We've seen some guys, be in competitive ball games. We haven't necessarily seen them lead the team down the field like the whole time, every time. And he just seems like a good fit there in San Francisco. And I'm a big supporter of whatever John Lynch wants to do with his life. So it seems like he's got a good thing going over there. I mean, the way he's working the draft and the way he worked out this trade. And I don't think that the money that he's giving Garoppolo right now is crazy money for like a starting quarterback. If you view him as a franchise guy, this is franchise guy money. He's not proven like that, but if you value him like that, then you've got this position locked up the next few years. And without this position locked up, you don't necessarily know where your team's going. So at least he's in a position to move the 49ers forward like that.
I think when a lot of people face outrage when these quarterbacks get that much money, it's kind of like the Andrew Luck and even the Matt Stafford effect on these teams, that I believe Andrew Luck is the most valuable player in the NFL. But I don't come at that in a skills sense. I come at it as a value sense. Because if Andrew Luck is not on that team, which this year happened, they go 4-12. And that's with Jacoby Brissett coming, who is a better quarterback with who they originally had, which is Scott Tolzien. Before Matt Stafford came to the team, they went 0-16. He was their first pick that year. So you have to view it as how much money could we give someone else? Are they going to do the same? Like, are they going to bring that same value to our team? Will they allow us to be competitive? Will they allow us to possibly go to the playoffs, win the division, go to the Super Bowl? So that's really what it comes down to, I believe, personally, is are you willing to not pay this guy and then start the season with either a rookie, C.J. Beathard, because if Josh Allen, do you think he's ready to start game 1? Would you feel more comfortable? Yeah. I would.
And again, like you're saying, you're paying Jimmy G in his prime right now. Like by the end of this contract, he's gonna be 30. That's ridiculous. So if you want to go out and pay a guy a lot of money, that would be the perfect age to do it for almost any position, but a quarterback especially. And that's why I think drives the market for the quarterbacks, why they get paid this much. It's a solid investment for several years. If you went out and paid this to a running back, there's only a handful of running backs, less than 5 guys that you would pay this to, and expect them to deliver consistently every year. There's a lot of other positions where, if you give this kind of contract to a guy, you might get a great year out of them in one of those years, but it's hard to project that every single year. With a quarterback, at least, you know what your projections are supposed to be year to year. So, there's really no bad way to spend that money on a guy like this where if it goes bad, I mean, like you said, that's a really good point that I haven't even heard about as much is the opt out after 3 years. That's a great extra clause in there.
Yeah, it is $73 million guaranteed, which is a lot of money. But do you really want to be 1-10 in week 13 or week 12, depending on when your bye is? How much is that worth to you? And they don't even have amazing receivers. I'd like to see them bring. And they have the room, obviously. It is $37 million cap hit total, but they have the room. It's not like a crazy thing. And it's like you.
I mean, they're going to be paying 2 positions now. They're going to be paying 2 positions premium money. You want to know what those positions are over in San Francisco? Quarterback, and if my probably second favorite position, then if we're all about quarterbacks on this show, my second favorite position would be fullback, and they pay Kyle Juszczyk great money. Probably not. I mean, not great money. I think he makes just over $2 million a year, but he has a solid contract. And I did see a random headline just as I was looking stuff up that said, oh, Kyle Juszczyk might be able to really flow in this offense with Jimmy Garoppolo in there, and I hope that is true. I mean, you never know what kind of crazy West Coast stuff you could throw in there, but I mean, and then they've obviously made some aggressive moves at the top of the draft board since their record hasn't been great recently, they've got a solid base. Let's see what they can do out there. They do probably need to bring in some receivers though.
Yeah, I do like Pierre Garçon. He was hurt for a lot of the Garoppolo experience, but I think if they are going to be in the top 10, so there is a lot of options. There is that outside chance of Saquon Barkley, which I doubt he comes down. I think they're in a good spot.
Too late, yeah.
I just think they're in a good spot that they can just take the best player available, and I'd like to see that because their defense is starting to come around. They picked up some decent DeForest Buckner in recent drafts. Reuben Foster, linebacker. Eric Reed is still there. Maybe it just depends. I think you take the best player available for them, and we can, debate whoever that is. But Carlos Hyde isn't
Pardon?
Yeah, Carlos Hyde isn't a scrub. They have Drew Kittle, isn't a bad tight end. Garrett Selleck isn't bad. So Trent Taylor at the slot, and they also have the freaking Olympic track star Marquise Goodwin. So.
If you look at that list of names right there, that's a perfect simple rebuilding offense. I'm talking about you got a fullback, you got 2 solid tight ends. Get them involved in the passing game. Get some easy throws for Jimmy G. Hell, I mean, with that kind of roster setup, you can look at just a progression right there. Building an offense around a guy right there, and just doing it from the inside out. And I mean, hell, we like that. What was it, C.J. Beathard to George Kittle connection this year? So,
yeah, the Iowa connection right there won me a couple fantasy matchups.
I mean, it may not have won the 49ers a lot of games on the field, but you take away, a rookie guy at quarterback and you throw in Jimmy G in there, and they might be looking up out in San Francisco, and yeah, I think John Lynch will do well with whatever draft position they have, and I think they were smart. I mean, just look at how they handled his first time around by being able to move down from 2 to 3 and still get a guy and he liked the Stanford guy. I mean that was crazy to when I saw that. So yeah, I think the 49ers
was that John Lynch or was that Chicago trying to appease its fan base?
Oh no, it was Chicago making a ridiculous decision, but John Lynch was on the other side of the fence, benefiting from it.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of like it's draft day, man, when freaking Kevin Costner baits that freaking dude from the Jaguars. He's a baby. He's just a baby.
Yeah, no, he's just able to do whatever he wants out there. And sometimes, sometimes you see things like that, especially in the draft, where teams will just fall in love with the guy. And again, like, this is almost another situation like that where they must have really loved what they saw on the field, these last few games, and felt comfortable giving him a franchise starter money. And, those types of contracts don't always work out for teams, but, this definitely checks off the prerequisites for a solid foundation to at least be able to hopefully go in a positive direction.
It's definitely not the wrong move. We'll see if it was the right move, but I don't think anyone, unless you're a total, I think if you're totally just anti, 49er rule, I don't think anyone in the NFL is really against this move. Maybe we can talk about
it was kind of expected, I would say. It was expected once they made that big-time trade to – if you make that big-time trade and don't re-sign him, then that's a complete failure, and that blows up in your face. So you kind of had to re-sign him.
Because you can argue you can argue the Kirk Cousins moved to over there. It's just like, why? He's older. There's so much more upside to Jimmy Garoppolo,
Well, yeah, you went out and you got that. You already paid an initial price for him. So you've already shown a commitment to him, and and then you have him in house. You have your own in-house tape on him. You've seen how he practices. You see how he leads the locker room. You see how he performs on your field and your system. That's better than bringing in a guy, even if it is Kirk Cousins, because obviously those two would have been the guys. If somehow they both wound up being free agents, they would have been the top two guys, and they would have both set the market much in the way that Jimmy G obviously already has. With Jimmy G's contract, we're looking at what Kirk Cousins might be able to fetch out there, and I don't know if he'll be able to lock in this kind of deal per se, just because I think like that commitment and that attachment is already there with the 49ers and their guys. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out, but they definitely needed to make the signing.
That division has the matchup or the potential to be one of the toughest again, especially if Arizona. And as we stated on the first show, I don't think they'll get Kirk Cousins.
It's so sad. I'm sad for the situation in Arizona right now.
Oh yeah,
Bruce Arians out of there, Carson Palmer's out of there. At least Fitz just won the golf tournament thing today in Pebble Beach. Good but
well, yeah, maybe that's enough for him to be like, you know what, I'm good.
No, Fitz is so loyal. He's been there for what, 12, 13 years already?
Yeah, since 2003.
It's going to be so much turnover in Arizona. There's obviously so much talent on that roster and in that locker room regardless. It's just, I believe they have made their head coaching hire.
Yeah, Steve Wilkes, defensive coordinator from the Carolina Panthers. So they went with a defensive guy, which kind of scares me, only because they don't have a quarterback. I think it's a lot easier for a team with a non-franchise quarterback to make that decision for a defensive guy, because like Detroit Lions, they pick up Matt Patricia because Matthew Stafford's already taken care of. He retained the offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter, and it makes life a lot easier.
Situation.
Yeah, and they need something to switch it up because Jim Caldwell was probably getting stale.
Yeah, but Coach Jim Bob, he's a renowned and beloved figure that obviously has got a great thing going with Matt Stafford there. But yeah, so Arizona's going to be a tough situation to see going forward. They've got a lot of changes. It'll be interesting to see how David Johnson comes back from injury, especially because with a change of quarterback, he's going to be relied on even more than he already was. That division's always been pretty darn competitive, one of the more competitive, I would say, but it's definitely looking to be competitive here in 2018, that'll definitely have an impact on the postseason race, I think, with more than one team for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what they're about. I'm excited for that whole division. In a couple weeks, we'll do after the draft, so a couple months, we'll do a prediction of the divisions. But right now, man, that division is starting to be something else, man. Especially.
I think that San Francisco's especially having the 9th or whatever draft pick they have. I'm sorry, I don't know.
It's the 10th.
So they have the 10th pick, right? But that also means that they have the 42nd pick as well.
Yeah.
So that's two picks in the top 50 right there. And I mean, if they can hit on those guys, or at least get those guys like some quality playing time out of those guys, then that's two more positions that they've improved. Then that makes them a real competitive team, I'd say. I mean, because they've obviously committed to a lot of different positions over there.
And with the quarterback, and even not a terrible offensive situation, they're in such a good position to just be able to take the best player available, which probably relieves a lot of stress off everyone, because everyone coming in could probably contribute. So sometimes you'll take a first-round pick at a quarterback, and he's not ready to be there. You're like, okay. Like exactly what happened with the Chiefs. I know Alex Smith did an interview, and he was like, hey, y'all are supposed to be contenders, first-round contender, Super Bowl contenders, and then essentially they go and waste your first-round pick on Patrick Mahomes. Like, would it have been nice to have an immediate impact player? He's like, and, that's how I feel a little bit about it. When you do take a quarterback who doesn't start, and that's why there's so much pressure to be like, hey, let's do this. But
right, I mean, so few quarterbacks are ready to come in and play. Like, even the ones that do, and even the ones that have success, like, you could always make that argument. Like, you could make that argument for Jameis and Marcus, like, that although they came in and they had success real early on, like, they could have sat and, like, developed more for sure.
Yeah.
And, you could always make that argument, but then again, there's not really that much, like it's such a 50-50 or even worse proposition taking a quarterback in the first round that no matter who you take, no matter when you take them, no matter a heck of a lot of variables, you could start them or you could sit them, and it's still not a winning proposition. Like, you're still not there. Like, there's no formula for proper success. Like, I think it's just too tough to.
Well, going back in the last probably 10 to 15 years, you got guys. Phillip Rivers sat, Drew Brees, he sat, Carson Palmer sat, Alex Smith sat for most of the year, but his first beginning of his career is terrible. Eli Manning sat behind Kurt Warner. Ben Roethlisberger was supposed to sit. He got hurt. But I think what really messed it up was probably around – I think Cam Newton probably messed it up, to be honest, because he came in.
Cam Newton's.
Yeah, he was just such a freak that it pushed.
I mean, he's an anomaly. I mean, he's such a one-off that you can't. In my opinion, you can't compare him like to really anybody. I mean, you have to just because he's a player and he's a quarterback and he is he obviously fits the bill, but he's so unique in the things that he's able to do and has always been able to do. I mean,
but do you think his early success kind of stalemated him to a degree? Like, do you think because Jake Delhomme, they had I believe Jake Delhomme was gone, but you could have brought in that veteran to have him start behind. But he was like, and now he's going through these struggles of being a 58 career passer and whatnot.
Yeah, but any mobile quarterback's going to struggle with that, like, and especially the way he played early on in his career. And then because he was so physical and just all that, like, there was so much history into just how physical of a player he is. The fact that he didn't get a call for like 2 years, that he was just getting abused, like, in the pocket, like, it didn't make sense. Like when you look at what happened to Tom Brady and you look at what happened to Cam Newton, and they're just completely opposite ends of the spectrum and completely different things happening. Like, it made it really confusing to know what the rules were for a time. But,
I think Ben Roethlisberger. It was Ben Roethlisberger, Case Keenum, because he did come out and say he was getting targeted unfairly, and then another report came out that it was actually like Ben Roethlisberger, Case Keenum, and Alex Smith were the most unfairly penalized quarterbacks. So,
well, what I'm saying is that with Cam Newton's scenario, I mean, he was getting egregiously hit, and there was never a flag against him. Like, I mean, there wasn't a flag in his favor for like 2 years, which doesn't even make sense. Like, how can you be a starter for 32 games and take every offensive snap and not get a call for 2 years? It didn't make sense. But in any case, I think. I like Cam's just a unique
I like Cam, man. I would have liked to see him sit, but he's just too dynamic to sit. Especially you bring in a guy like Jake Delhomme at that time, a dinosaur. Let him go on the field, and even though Jake Delhomme's a Pro Bowler with a Super Bowl appearance and all that.
Well, also, I mean, with Cam, by the time you brought him in, he had a lot of football under his belt. He wasn't like Jameis or some of the younger guys. He definitely wasn't Johnny Manziel. Like he had been around. He started in Florida, went to community college, then finished his career and had like a whole handful of championship rings already.
Well, I think he's a junior college champion as well, right? Right. So he's got three national championship rings, but I think it might have helped Jameis Winston. Also, that 2012 draft was pretty.
Jameis Winston is just such a leader that it's gonna be hard to sit him down.
At this
quarterback
point,
yeah.
I think it depends
not even
on.
At this point, that was who he was at Florida State too. I mean, he's a vocal guy.
Do you think? I don't know. I think that locker room is starting to get tired of him, though.
Well, I think he got blown out of proportion with the Eat the W thing, and that took on too much media speculation. And,
I'm going past that, though.
Yeah, even okay. I mean, because from what I've heard, from the players on that team, they're all everybody's all past that. And how are you not going to stay behind that guy? I mean, honestly, I wish he would show a little bit more maturity in terms of things like what happened with him and Marshawn Lattimore, I believe. That whole Saints game was a little much for that whole team. But I think Jameis is one of those guys that he's a franchise guy for his organization, and when the time comes, he's gonna get paid, and when the time comes, Marcus Mariota is gonna get paid again, and although these were high first round guys that all got paid extremely well the first time around, they're gonna get just as well paid as Matt Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo and a lot of these guys. I mean, so there's always positive quarterback play to be seen.
Yeah, this is those guys' fourth year, so we'll start seeing playing numbers, and I think Mariota earned his payday when he that win against my Chiefs, man. God damn, dude. Catching a touchdown pass, blocking Frank Zombo. God fucking damn it. It was terrible.
Yeah, that was a little much, but a playoff win, any playoff win is a good thing for your resume, and the closer you have it to the time that you are going to be free agent, the better, because we all know, it's easy to have a short memory in the National Football League, but I'll be curious to see how the contracts play out. I'm always curious to see that. I was curious to see how the Jimmy Garoppolo situation was going to play out, and I can't say that I'm surprised by it one iota. That's franchise money. You make that trade, you're gonna try to re-sign that guy, and that's franchise money. So that's what you got to do to lock up a guy these days. And, other than that, the coaching situations around the league, those are always fun to watch. Matt Patricia, there's definitely some funny memes out there with the different look he has. First day of the Lions coach.
He's sold out, man. He's sold out. You know what? No, I would have done it. He did nothing wrong, and anyone who, But speaking of coaches, it's finally complete. It's complete. Every team's got an NFL coach because former offense coordinator of the Eagles, Frank Reich, going to the Colts now after that debacle we talked about on the last show with Josh McDaniels, who, let's see if he becomes a head coach, because honestly, I don't think he can work for anyone but the Patriots right now.
No, yeah, I think he kind of isolated himself, actually. I mean,
yeah,
he's going back to the Pats this year. I mean, I feel like he punted to next year. McDaniels will be another conversation 12 months from now.
Maybe. But, do you really want to hire a guy like that? He kind of seems like a jerk. You can't trust him. Gives you his word.
Yeah, but there's, again, talent scarce. He'll be in consideration again next year. He'll always be in the conversation. I mean, you think about the conversation, he's always in the conversation. Whether or not he's a serious candidate, every single year, you hear a team that desperately needs an offensive-minded head coach. they'll be, rumored or linked to Josh McDaniels somehow.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because the hot seat, everyone's seat is cold right now. So we'll see once the seat gets in a couple of months. We'll see whose seat gets hot. I don't really know next year who I can think of would be on a hot seat. I'd like to say Andy Reid, but with that new quarterback and what he's done for that franchise of consistency, I think he'll be there for a while. He might get fired one day, but I can see him putting another, I think 13 years that he put in with the Eagles at the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes obviously will dictate that.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, maybe Bill O'Brien, depending on it. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't see. I love Bill O'Brien. I think he's a great guy, but and I think he's actually the right coach for the Texans, especially at the moment. But to me, that seems like a situation that's going to expire. It just does. Like I can't explain it really. But it just seems like he's been the coach there a while. They haven't had a great success. They made the playoffs a lot, but
who's he winning with? Who's he winning with?
Well, exactly.
I can name you his quarterback.
They're doing work.
Yeah. J.J. Watt gone for 2 seasons, man. I get so defensive about Bill O'Brien because I'll name you his quarterbacks. He started with Matt Schaub when Matt Schaub was terrible. Like, after the Matt Schaub had a good 4-year run of being a successful starter. Started with him, gets rid of him, then he goes to Case Keenum for a couple games in 2014 after having Ryan Fitzpatrick, who led them to a decent win-loss record, breaks his leg. TJ Yates tears his ACL. He picks up Brandon Weeden for a couple games. Yeah, and freaking picks up Deshaun Watson.
Brandon Weeden, a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, that right now, that's obviously, and so I feel like Bill O'Brien is not going to be able to enjoy the success that Deshaun Watson's going to have in his career.
No.
I just feel like that's not.
He's going to get John Fox
to happen.
Yeah, like I think.
I don't know how much John Fox is coming back to the league, to be honest.
No, but I'm saying as far as John Fox built that defense. And then Kubiak comes in, wins it his first year because Peyton Manning, and he won with a duck Peyton Manning. Like, that's John Fox's team. And we can make the argument about a couple people like that, but it is what it is.
Well, John Fox is one of those NFL names. Like, he's always connected to an organization somehow.
I think he's a good coach. He's also at the point.
He's a good coach. He's got almost a household name. Thing kind of going on. I haven't seen him had a lot of success like recently as a head coach. But he'll be around NFL organizations for a long time to come. Or until he doesn't want to anymore. But
well, that's the thing. Now you have Matt Nagy up there, and maybe John Fox was the right coach as far as for Mitchell Trubisky. But now what happens when if they go to the playoffs, is that John Fox's success? And that's with anything, And
no, I think that's Mitchell Trubisky's success, and that's it. Like, I feel like they put all their eggs in his basket. Like, they're just doing everything they can to get that kid successful. Like, and they do weird things right. Like, their running back selection in the draft is oddly superior to other teams apparently right now.
Yeah. No, they're picking. They're able to get superior ones, man. I can't think of
running backs, which are great.
Because even Langford, who is probably the worst one they've picked up in a while, he
had one great year.
Yeah, 800 yards and whatnot, probably over 1,000 all-purpose yards. You got Jordan Howard, but man, this coaching demographic is nuts, and to see Frank Reich go to them, it does make sense. He was an assistant earlier, so he does have a connection to the Colts franchise, but
hopefully that works out for Andrew Luck then. Andrew Luck needs something to go right for him in his life once,
I don't think
his NFL career at least.
I just don't see
his NFL career has just been
anything happening there. I just do not see it happening, man. There's so many holes.
That defense. That defense just doesn't scare you, and their offense is just so
T.Y.
If Andrew
Hilton
Luck goes down, if Andrew Luck goes down, they're done. I mean, I like Jack Doyle, but he's not carrying an offense. Frank Gore, thank God that guy's still alive. But it's just, Marlon Mack's not a franchise, ball carrier for you. But so it's really Andrew Luck or bust in Indianapolis, and it's been that way, and it's going to continue to be that way. And I just obviously they've got to improve their offensive line. I don't know who their offensive linemen are. They got to improve because
they got Ryan. Yeah, Ryan Kelly is about as good as it gets. They have Anthony Costanzo. He's been on that team for a while. Not really impressive. Real whatchamacallit, tight in the hips. He can't open up, man. But I don't want to say it's better than nothing because I don't believe it at all. It's just what else do you need? There's just so much work to be done there. That I think Frank Reich.
Yeah, but Andrew Luck's your guy. I mean, Luck, haven't they already paid him again?
Yeah, no, they've taken care of him. I'm just curious to see if he's even ready to play because a lot of times with these injuries, we all assume Deshaun Watson. I don't think starts week 1. Carson Wentz. I don't think starts week 1. This shoulder surgery, no one really knows what the hell's going on. Because
it's been a crazy story for Andrew Luck. I mean, he tried to come back a handful of times this year.
Yeah, taken off the IR, I think once. So that's Frank Reich's struggle, and now he's got to build his staff, and they're just so far behind. They don't have an offensive coordinator. They do have a defensive coordinator, but they don't have a special teams coordinator. They don't have any position coach other than offensive line. He's behind the game right now because the season's over. I think everyone's starting to get ready, get ready for the draft. Position coaches are scouting, and now you're going to tell a guy who's like, hey, do you want to come over from X team to the Colts and maybe leave your 9-7 team and come to a 4-12 team, and we don't know if Andrew Luck's going to be there? And, I just think at this point, man, it's hard. It's going to be hard to get anyone half decent. You're going to be going for the offensive assistants and graduate assistant type of guys, and
I mean, hopefully he's got relationships. He'll be able to bring in his guys. Some of his guys that might not have been able to get some positions based on their current levels of experience. Whereas, like you're saying, if this whole thing had unfolded a little bit earlier in the off season, then you try to fill those positions with the biggest names you can. But obviously, there's not a lot of other vacancies in the league, so that means that those other names are hired. And hopefully he'll be able to bring in people. I mean, there's always people for positions, especially in the NFL. There's only 32 positions of each position in each organization. So he'll be able to fill out a staff, but it's all going to affect Andrew Luck in a very meaningful way. And I do feel bad for that guy. I mean, he's just has not had a very easy road in his NFL career.
It is something else, man. That whole situation with Josh McDaniels, I feel put the team back. And before, when they were doing interviews, I was reading that Jim Irsay, the owner, was letting Chris Ballard kind of take more control. But this second time going around, I know they interviewed Dan Campbell and I believe Leslie Frazier. I really like to see Leslie Frazier go there just because it's a defensive guy. But, obviously there's issues all over with that team, and it's a damn shame because it's a weak division in which, Jacksonville has no real answer at quarterback, and Mariota's, was hurt a lot of the year, but now they're in transition. So it's anyone's division, and what is Deshaun Watson going to come? But, in the simplest of things, you can never go wrong with taking an offensive-minded head coach who just helped Nick Foles win the Super Bowl. Yes, repeating again, Nick Foles is a Super Bowl champion. And,
oh my goodness.
Hey, man, there were a lot of guys in 2013 who said that, and they're right.
And they're right now, apparently. Yeah, so good for them.
Yeah, I know two of them. But,
Good.
Yeah, it's
good for Philly, man. Good for Philly.
It is good. It's a shame they burn their city down, but you know what, man? Hey,
actually, I heard, from what I heard, it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been or people thought it might have been. But But you gotta have a good time when your team wins. It's
Yeah.
especially in the most unlikely of circumstances that it happened. But yeah, I mean, we're still a few weeks away from the start of the league year. We're a few weeks out from the combine, which that just the names of the attendees just got released. So
Awesome.
that'll always be a good event, to try to catch some of. And yeah, we've got some good things, on the horizon.
I can't wait for that, man. I think that's what our next couple shows will go over. We'll be doing a lot of combine stuff. Getting ready to wrap it up, guys. Got a couple minutes. Appreciate the channel's grown a little bit. Nothing crazy. Just want to give some love out right now. The final couple minutes, but yeah, we'll be doing a couple draft things. We'll be doing. We'll be going over some stuff. We'll go over the free agent market as well. Predictions will be coming up in the next month or so. But mostly, guys, decent, a lot better feedback, for just being two guys on both sides of the Mississippi. And definitely grateful, man. Definitely grateful for anything.
Yeah, thanks for anybody that's listening. Anybody, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time, and we'll try to keep getting better every time out, and keep giving you some good content, some good takes, and especially if you're listening now, definitely you want to keep listening because we're about to hit our stride with the areas that we know best in the college prospects and the combine, the draft. That's kind of the area we feel very comfortable with. So
a lot of episodes. A lot of episodes coming out, guys. We're gonna try to maybe with the draft, one every other day, man. If we can throw two in, whatever the big story is, that's what we'll do. But man, we got the draft coming up. The league season's only a couple weeks away, man. And I can't wait, Tuck. I can't wait to see what John Gruden does.
John Gruden's gonna have some serious signing potential in free agency here, man. It's gonna be great.
He's gonna take guys from his Tampa Bay days, and he's gonna bring them to Derek Carr, and I can't wait.
I mean, free agency is gonna be a blast. I mean, there's always stories there, and honestly, there's always stories that you don't even expect, things that you'll see happening. Come out of left field at you. So we'll try to cover all that and stay tuned. And if you have any feedback, definitely let us know. And thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Make sure you check out our sponsor. They're the ones that make it happen on this show. It's Kilo Charlie Clothing. If you're looking for any veteran-owned apparel, and even T-shirts, they do T-shirts and with your logo on it for your business. So let Kilo Charlie Clothing know that is your clothing apparel of choice. Check them out on Facebook, Kilo Charlie Clothing on Facebook, Instagram, same thing, and www.kilocharlie.com. For your host, this was the Letterman Jacket. I'm your host, Pat Ruffino, joined with me by Tucker Shaw. Tucker, say goodbye.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for another episode.
Bye-bye.